And why is she always beside you?
She's my new PR consultant.
Then why does she look at you like she belongs in my
You're
place?
the only woman I place. You're the only woman I'll ever love. Don't be jealous of her.
Who is this young lady, and why is she always beside you? Claire Sterling's trembling voice cut through the music inside the grand ballroom. The laughter around them faded. Several guests stopped talking. Standing beside billionaire Ethan Sterling was a stunning young woman in a black evening gown. She had been by his side the entire evening, laughing at his jokes, whispering into his ear, and smiling at him as though she belonged there. Claire could ignore it no longer. Ethan looked at his wife and smiled with complete confidence. She's my new PR consultant. Claire glanced at the young woman again before looking back at her husband. Then why does she look at you like she belongs in my place? The room became uncomfortably quiet. The young woman immediately lowered her eyes and stepped back. Ethan gently reached for Claire's hands. My love. His voice was soft, calm, reassuring, the same voice that had comforted her through every difficult season of their marriage. Look at me. Claire slowly raised her eyes. Ethan smiled. You're the only woman I'll ever love. He kissed her forehead. Don't be jealous of her. Claire stared into his eyes. For a moment, every fear inside her disappeared. She smiled. I'm sorry. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. You never have to apologize for loving me. The guests who had been watching quietly smiled. Someone even whispered, now that's what a real husband looks like. Another guest laughed. They're still madly in love. Within minutes, the music resumed. People returned to dancing. The moment was forgotten, at least by everyone except Claire, because although she had accepted Ethan's explanation, something deep inside her refused to believe it. She couldn't explain why. She couldn't prove anything. It was simply a feeling she prayed was wrong. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Welcome to Super Stories. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Whether you're watching from the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, or anywhere else in the world, we'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoy emotional stories filled with shocking twists, unforgettable endings, and powerful life lessons, be sure to subscribe to Super Stories and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Now, let's go back to where it all began. 8 years earlier, Claire Sterling wasn't looking for love. She certainly wasn't looking for a billionaire. At 28 years old, she lived a quiet life as an elementary school teacher in New York. She loved children. She loved books. She loved peaceful mornings with a cup of coffee and classical music playing softly in the background. Money had never impressed her. Character did. Across the city, however, Ethan Sterling lived a completely different life. At 38 years old, he was already one of America's youngest self-made billionaires. His technology company had changed the way businesses operated across the country. Magazine covers called him a visionary. Television hosts called him a genius. Employees called him the best boss they'd ever had. But there was one thing Ethan secretly hated. People only saw his money. Women flirted with him because of his wealth. Businessmen wanted favors. Even strangers suddenly became friendly after learning his name. It became impossible for him to know who genuinely cared about him and who cared about his billions. One rainy afternoon changed everything. Claire was walking home after finishing work. Her arms were full of grocery bags. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, a black Rolls-Royce splashed rainwater across her dress. The car stopped immediately. Before the driver could even react, the rear door opened. Out stepped Ethan Sterling. His expensive suit was worth more than most people's monthly salary. Yet the first words that came out of his mouth were, "I'm so sorry." Claire looked down at her soaked dress, then looked back at the embarrassed billionaire. To Ethan's surprise, she laughed. Not a fake laugh, a real one. "It's just water," she said. "You look more upset than I am." Ethan couldn't help smiling. "I still owe you an apology." He removed his designer suit jacket and offered it to her. Claire shook her head. "I think you'll need that more than I do. You'll catch a cold." "So will you?" For a few seconds, neither of them moved. Then they both laughed. It was the simplest conversation Ethan had enjoyed in years. No one asked for a selfie. No one mentioned his company. No one talked about his billions. Claire didn't even recognize him. She simply introduced herself. "I'm Claire. Ethan." She smiled. "It was nice meeting you, Ethan." Then she picked up her groceries and walked away, leaving one of the richest men in America standing in the rain, unable to stop watching her disappear into the distance. For the first time in years, someone had treated Ethan Sterling like he was just another ordinary man. And that was the moment the billionaire fell in love. After the gala, Claire tried to silence her unease. She told herself she had overreacted. Ethan had done nothing wrong. After all, this was Ethan Sterling, the billionaire husband every woman admired. He opened doors when cameras were not watching. He kissed her forehead in crowded rooms. In interviews, he called her the greatest blessing of his life. The morning after the gala, Claire woke to coffee and pancakes. "Good morning, my queen," he said softly. Claire smiled. "Ethan, you didn't have to do this." "I know," he replied. "That's why I wanted to." Beside the tray was a note. "You are my peace. I love you more than yesterday." Her eyes softened. How could she have doubted him? Ethan sat beside her and brushed his thumb across her cheek. "You were quiet last night," he said. Claire lowered her eyes. "I felt silly." "About Vanessa?" She nodded. Ethan held her hand. "Claire, listen to me. In my world, people will always stand near me. Employees will travel with me. Reporters will talk. Women will smile. But none of them are you." Claire looked at him. "You are my wife," he whispered. "My home. My forever." Her heart melted. "Don't let a stranger steal your peace." Claire nodded. "I'm sorry." Ethan smiled. "You never have to apologize for loving me." And once again, Claire believed him. That was Ethan's gift. He knew how to make lies sound like love. For weeks, he became more attentive. Flowers arrived at Claire's workplace. He called between meetings just to say he missed her voice. At night, he held her close and spoke about their future. Claire felt foolish for ever suspecting him. But Vanessa Brooks did not disappear. In fact, she became more present than ever. She was at every press conference, company dinner, charity meeting, and private celebration. Whenever Claire entered, Vanessa smiled like a woman who knew exactly how to behave before a wife. "Mrs. Sterling," she would say sweetly, "you look beautiful as always." Claire always smiled back. But deep inside, something still felt wrong. Vanessa did not look at Ethan like an employee looked at her boss. She looked at him like a woman waiting for her turn. One Friday evening, Ethan hosted a private dinner for investors at the Sterling Mansion. The house glittered with gold lights, fresh flowers, and polished marble. Claire wore a silver dress Ethan chose. "You look breathtaking," he told her at the staircase. She smiled. "You say that every time." Because every time it is true. Vanessa appeared beside him. "Mr. Sterling, the British investors just arrived." Claire noticed Ethan recognized Vanessa's voice instantly. "I'll be there in a moment," he said. Vanessa smiled at Claire. "Forgive me, Mrs. Sterling. Business never sleeps around your husband." Claire forced a polite laugh. "I'm beginning to notice." Vanessa's smile did not move, but something in her eyes sharpened. Later, Claire stood near the balcony while Ethan spoke with guests. Vanessa walked up to him, holding a glass of water. "You forgot to drink again," she said softly. Ethan accepted it without surprise. "What would I do without you?" Vanessa laughed, probably collapsed from overworking. It was harmless, casual, and easy to excuse. But Claire heard the familiarity in it. Vanessa's fingers touched Ethan's wrist. She saw Ethan smile before pulling away. It lasted seconds, but it stayed inside Claire like a thorn. When the guests left, Claire found Ethan removing his cufflinks. "Does Vanessa always take care of you like that?" she asked. Ethan looked up. "Like what?" "The water, the reminders, the way she speaks to you." He chuckled softly. "Claire, she manages my schedule and public image. That is literally her job." "I know," Claire said, "but sometimes it feels personal." Ethan placed both hands on her shoulders. "My love, you are tired. I saw the way she touched you. It was nothing to you." His face softened. Are we really doing this again? Claire hated the way that question made her feel small. No, she said quietly. Forget I said anything. Ethan pulled her into his arms. I don't want you worrying about shadows. Claire rested against his chest, but her eyes remained open. Across the hall, Vanessa stood near the library door, hidden by darkness. That night, while Claire slept beside Ethan, his phone lit up silently under the blanket. Vanessa, she suspects me. Ethan turned away from his wife and typed back. Ethan, I handled it. Vanessa, you always do. Ethan stared at the screen before replying. Ethan, be careful around her. Vanessa, are you protecting her or protecting us? He hesitated. Beside him, Claire shifted in her sleep and placed a hand on his back. Ethan froze. For a second, guilt crossed his face. Then the phone buzzed again. Vanessa, do you love me? Ethan closed his eyes. His thumb hovered over the screen. Finally, he typed one word. Ethan, yes. The next morning, Claire woke before him. Ethan was still asleep, one arm across her waist, his face peaceful and innocent. For a moment, she wondered if she was losing her mind. How could a man hold her like this and betray her? She slipped quietly out of bed and went downstairs. On the kitchen counter, the housekeeper had placed the morning papers. Ethan and Claire were on the front page of the society section. Billionaire Ethan Sterling and wife Claire Shine at private investor dinner. The photo showed Ethan holding Claire close. But behind them, slightly blurred, Vanessa stood watching. Claire stared at the picture for a long time. For the first time, she did not see a loyal employee. She saw a clear warning. That afternoon, Claire visited Ethan's office without telling him. She claimed she wanted to surprise him with lunch, but the truth was deeper. She needed proof that her fear was only fear. When she arrived, Ethan's assistant looked startled. Mrs. Sterling, we weren't expecting you. Claire smiled. I wanted to surprise my husband. The assistant hesitated. He's in a meeting. With whom? Before the young woman could answer, Ethan's office door opened. Vanessa stepped out first, adjusting her blouse. Ethan followed seconds later. His ties slightly loosened. Everyone froze. Claire looked from Vanessa to Ethan. Ethan smiled too quickly. Claire, what a beautiful surprise. Vanessa lowered her eyes. Mrs. Sterling. Claire held the lunch bag tighter. What kind of meeting was this? Ethan walked toward her. A strategy meeting. With the door locked? It wasn't locked. Claire reached the handle behind Vanessa and turned it. The door did not move. Silence fell. For the first time, Ethan had no smooth answer. Then he laughed softly. My assistant must have locked it for privacy. Claire stared at him. Vanessa stepped aside. I should go. As she passed Claire, her perfume lingered in the air, expensive and familiar. Claire had smelled it before, faintly, on Ethan's jacket after late meetings. Her stomach tightened. Ethan touched her elbow. Come inside. Let's eat together. But Claire pulled away gently. No, she said. I suddenly lost my appetite. She turned and walked toward the elevator. Ethan followed her. Claire, wait. She stopped but did not face him. Tell me one thing, she whispered. Am I crazy? Ethan paused. Then he placed his hands on her shoulders from behind. No, he said softly. You are not crazy. You are just afraid of losing me. Claire closed her eyes. And should I be? Ethan turned her around and looked straight into her face. Never. He kissed her forehead. I love only you. Claire desperately wanted to believe him. But as the elevator doors closed between them, she saw Vanessa standing at the end of the hallway, watching quietly. And this time, Vanessa was not smiling. She looked victorious. The truth didn't arrive with a confession. It arrived with a single notification. It was a quiet Tuesday evening. Claire had just finished setting the dinner table when Ethan's phone, lying on the kitchen counter, vibrated. She wasn't the kind of wife who searched through her husband's phone. She never had a reason to. For 8 years, Ethan Sterling had given her every reason to trust him. She picked up the phone, intending to take it upstairs. Then the message appeared on the lock screen. Vanessa, I already miss you. Last night was perfect. I love you. Claire stopped breathing. For a second, she convinced herself there had to be another explanation. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Vanessa had sent it to the wrong person. Then another message appeared. "Did your wife believe you after the gala?" Claire's hands began to tremble. The phone slipped from her fingers onto the couch. At that moment, Ethan walked into the living room, drying his hair with a towel. The smile on his face disappeared the instant he saw Claire. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply looked at him. "Ethan," her voice was barely above a whisper. "Tell me this isn't what it looks like." Ethan froze. For the first time in 8 years, the billionaire who always had an answer had none. Claire slowly held out the phone. "Tell me." Silence filled the room. Finally, Ethan lowered his head. "I'm sorry." Those 2 words shattered everything. Claire's tears rolled down her cheeks. "So it was true. When you told me not to be jealous of her, you were already with her." Ethan closed his eyes. "It wasn't supposed to happen." Claire laughed bitterly. "It wasn't supposed to happen? How long?" Ethan hesitated. Claire's voice grew firmer. "How long?" He could barely meet her eyes. 2 years. Claire felt as though the floor had disappeared beneath her. 2 years. For 2 years, every anniversary, every vacation, every handwritten letter, every promise had been shared with another woman. She remembered apologizing for doubting Vanessa. She remembered thanking Ethan for being patient with her. She remembered telling her friends, "My husband would never betray me." Now every memory felt poisoned. Ethan stepped toward her. "Claire, please listen to me." She immediately stepped back. "No, you've spoken enough. I can explain." "Can you explain 2 years? Can you explain looking into my eyes and telling me I was imagining things? Can you explain kissing my forehead after leaving another woman's arms?" Ethan's shoulders slumped. There was nothing left to say. Claire walked upstairs. She opened the closet. 1 suitcase. Then another. She quietly folded her clothes. Every room she entered reminded her of the life they had built together. The photographs, the wedding portrait, the handwritten notes Ethan used to leave beside her coffee. She picked up one that read, "Forever yours." A tear landed on the paper. She folded it once, then placed it back on the table. Some memories deserved to stay in the past. When Claire came downstairs with her luggage, Ethan was waiting by the front door. His eyes were red. "I'll end it. I'll never see her again. I'll do anything." Claire looked at the man she had loved with all her heart. "I believe you." Hope returned to Ethan's face. Then Claire finished her sentence. "I believe you finally mean it. But you should have meant it 2 years ago." She removed her wedding ring, placed it gently into his hand. "I didn't leave because you loved someone else. I left because you looked into my eyes every single day and chose to lie." Without another word, Claire walked out. The front door closed softly behind her. It wasn't the sound of anger. It was the sound of a chapter ending. Months passed. Claire slowly rebuilt her life. She continued therapy. She reconnected with old friends. She laughed again, not because she had forgotten the pain, but because she refused to let it define her future. Meanwhile, Ethan still owned the penthouse, the luxury cars, the private jet, the billion-dollar company. Yet every evening, he returned to a mansion that echoed with silence. Success had made him wealthy. His choices had made him lonely. He had spent years building an empire, only to lose the one person who had loved him long before the headlines, the cameras, and the fortune. Sometimes, the greatest loss isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in trust. Life lesson. A relationship is not sustained by expensive gifts, grand speeches, or public displays of affection. It is sustained by honesty, loyalty, and the choices we make when no one is watching. Once trust is broken, even the strongest love may not survive. Thank you for watching Super Stories. If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to Super Stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional story. And before you go, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, whether it's the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, or anywhere else in the world. Until next time, remember, the truth always finds its way into the light.